When this man decided to dissolve his 15-year marriage, my uncle defended him. They divided everything 50/50 and had an extremely horrible split. Even the earth their house rests on. She so chose to construct a house just behind the previous one. Mind you, between the two home sites, there was about 200 yards of land. The residences' backs faced one another. The house is built, and my uncle gets a call from a client curious about the legalities of a job he has taken on. He was always seeing her apparently, as his ex-wife seemed to spend much time in her backyard. He named his female dog the same name he used for his ex-wife when he let his dog back into from the outdoors. Should she pee on the flowers, he would scream and wail, "Susan, you B-word. Get in here, Susan. Quit peeing on the flowers." Alternatively, "Susan, stop excavating the ground, you B-word." Several times the ex-wife called the police on him, but they were unable to take action since Susan, the dog was registered under, is a female dog. You thus depart. The pair split 10 years ago but did not file for divorce until a few years ago. He burned his house and mailed her the transfer of ownership records as she was planning to buy it. He could, however, spend time in jail for arson. I put in work for a legal firm subpoenaed in relation to a divorce involving a partner from one well-known law office and another well-known legal practice. Among other companies, the woman sent over 70 subpoenas to banks, companies, and financial organizations. She was sure he had covertly saved about $20 million abroad. It became so bad that she pulled 25-year-old receipts in an effort to fit his enormous conspiracy jigsaw. The judge said at last that this was ridiculous after she had paid $1.5 million in legal fees and engaged 7 different solicitors. There was no conspiracy. You are not entitled to any of the bogus $20 million. Mind you, this was a well-known legal firm partner working this way. She made millions of dollars every year in her line of work. Yet she appeared insane. Bad separation. Wife got her husband put under a restraining order. Highly frequent, though not fantastic either, was not a horrible dude. After 1 year of divorce, his mother passed away. Before she passed away, he pushed his sister to get in touch with his ex-wife and bring the kids to visit her in the hospital. The wife never followed. Rather, she went to court alleging he contacted her, therefore violating the restraining order. One cannot call someone via another party. He came clean and described the situation, but he was discovered in breach of the injunction. While he was in prison, his mother passed away. His wife never brought the kids to see her. Here is the chronicle of my parents' legal careers. All during the divorce procedure. The main cause of conflict between the husband and the wife was a car. Months of swearing he would never let his wife have the car. The husband concedes in return for something amazing, such one of their vacation houses. He had been driving the car for 3 hours every day in a big loop around the city, running thousands and thousands of miles on it, therefore rendering it inoperable. There was amazing foresight and bitterness involved in it. During graduate school, I worked for 2 divorce attorneys doing some consulting. Their customer was a professional pilot for an airline. His wife just worked half-hour. Time therefore resulted in a considerable economic disparity. That was a nasty divorce. Tax time arrived throughout the process but before the ultimate decision. My guys told the wife's attorney, her accountant just called, and if they can just share their W-2s and file jointly, they'll save about $8,000 over filing separately. Cold as ice. Dude, losing $8 grand will be considerably worse for her than for me. Screw her. If your income is below a specific level in the Netherlands, the government covers most of the legal expenses. Actually, this suggests that should the divorce process go and one of the couples has little to no money, while the other has a regular paycheck, the one with normal income will be compelled to pay a significant sum. Considering the several approaches to, I have seen cases reach shockingly high billable hours drag things out. Still, there is a catch. The government pays your lawyer a particular amount. We therefore keep account of the hours in these situations as, should the money you get following a divorce or other event beyond a specific level, you are obliged to pay your own lawyer. This woman so ended up getting 40,000 euros as she believed she was mistreating her ex-husband by postponing the divorce for years. She regretfully had to pay much of the money back in attorney expenses. There felt to be justice there. It also shows over and again that usually the lawyers are the only real winners in a dispute. Banker here has seen several occasions where a joint overdraft or credit card shows up just before the divorce, totally unexpected one of the parties. Of course, the water has been zero emptied. It's particularly challenging when small children or students are unhappy following a split and have debt they cannot afford. I knew a married man who never told his wife, slept with another man, had his baby. Later, for different reasons, they start divorce processes. After a paternity test, the spouse finds out the child is not his and the courts order he to keep paying child support as the child's best interests call for it. I oversaw a divorce between CVS employee husband and instructor. I stood in for the wife. Supporting herself, her husband, and their 2 children, the wife was, for all purposes, the family's breadwinner. One of the youngsters was somewhat autistic and needed lengthy and costly therapy as well as education. Living alone, the husband sued the woman who raises both children for temporary spousal support throughout the divorce process. Though it came out as slimy, he fulfilled all statutory criteria to get it. The day the hearing was scheduled, the judge tore the husband a new one for 20 minutes, rejecting all the evidence. He called him a nasty creature, standing in for everything wrong with civilization. The judge then declared that although he was obliged to offer spousal maintenance and that his hands were limited, he showed scant respect for the spouse. The husband started addressing my crying client, "Good fellas, screw you." As we were leaving the court, it was mankind at its worst. Although I'm a banker and not a divorce attorney, I get to glimpse into people's personal life, and this is what a customer told me. Though the divorce was really simple, as a professional I'm not sure. I want to know why. Still, I find his money troubling. The breadwinner in the house was my boyfriend. Given he was a construction foreman, he was in charge of staff planning, payment, and supervision. He performed really well. His wife seems to have wanted everything. However, the fact that she stole his yacht, which he had bought before he ever met her, infuriated him the most. The odd thing is she cannot afford anything to move the boat with, including a car. He had to therefore formally move his boat and car to where she was living, and just leave everything there. He forgot his boat. He asked me finally how old I was. I relate to him 21. He has warned me not to get married. I'll get to save everything at last. I saw a future ex-wife fight fiercely over a career military man's disability payments who had not yet retired. Legal fees were nothing to her because she had a new boyfriend to help her. She therefore dragged out asset division and divorce procedures for months over the unpaid disability benefits of her soon-to-be ex-husband, her entitlement to what would have been the whole amount. Maybe $400. That was prior to the Supreme Court ruling that disability benefits are not marital property. It was hardly more than petty trash. Wife and spouse number 1 divorced with a child. Wife gets the child under her custody. Her first husband pays child support. Wife wed number 2's second spouse. Second husband picks up the child. Now legally the father is husband number 2, hence husband number 1 is not in charge of child maintenance. Second divorce among husband and wife comes from adoption, means the second spouse has to pay child support for the child. Wife remarries number 1 husband. The child now resides with husband number 1. The original father yet, husband number 2, the adopted father, still has to pay child support. One of my wives practices divorce law. She so told me about this one. The couple kept living together during the divorce but kept separate bedrooms. When the husband bought a snack, like chips or crackers, he would bring it home to his soon-to-be ex-wife, who would smash the bag till the food was dust but never open it. He was therefore usually disappointed every time he went to grab a new food. For this he neither got a restraining order nor anything else. About the dust bits he was enraged, nevertheless. As a court clerk, we handled a lot of divorce paperwork. Would not believe how often people show court evidence of naked pictures of their soon-to-be ex-partners. To humiliate them. Not because the pictures are essential for divorce procedures, but rather unless the judge seals them. Court files are public records, so anyone who wants to view can view the court file together with all the exhibits. The most unhappy division is family court. Never forward naked pictures to anybody. She found out when he betrayed his marriage. One day she went back to their old house and shrimped every curtain rod. Not sure where the smell was coming from. The spouse trying to sell the house struggled. The scent drives him to sell it at a major loss and below market value. The wife finally bought it. The partner was a wonderful man who raised his family well and treated his kids nicely. Though his wife, who had cheated on him, apparently wanted everything including the guy's soul, he wanted to terminate the divorce as gently as possible. She got alimony, custody of the kids, and property, but over a period of years she paid thousands of dollars in attorney's fees on top of notebooks and a vase. The grandmother of the husband had both relics. Before she arrived in the United States, they were the only things she kept intact during the Holocaust. The judge decided at last that the wife also had custody of those items. She destroyed the vase with a hammer and burned the notebook as soon as she laid hands on them. Financial restrictions had driven him to relocate into a one-bedroom apartment, and she placed the vase pieces and the ashes of the journal in his doorway. On this case, I assisted the attorney. Local investment broker with good performance record. Excellent work with a lot of affluent clientele. In her village, the wife has a little shop. A favorite hobby. Does not turn much profit. For some years I have been trying to conceive. Dealing with clinics and reproductive doctors. Marriage. Finally falls pregnant. 1 in a million opportunity. Has the newborn, he is a boy. In a few months, fast forward. About 2 hours away, the wife must visit the market for business and spends a day seeing the major city. The partner was ready for this and grabbed the opportunity to have the baby checked for paternity instead of his own. He was examined upon arriving at the reproductive clinic and discovered he was firing blanks. He therefore contacts my company and his attorney, and we start the strategy. We had a private investigator follow her as we are getting ready to file the complaint. He goes with her to a few doctor visits, tennis lessons, country club daily meals, and friend get-togethers. Her friends had scheduled her birthday celebration at the country club. This is our chance. Serving her with divorce papers, I loudly ask her for her name and then, after confirmation, declare the reason behind the divorce. Divorce. You must so show up at the blank county court, nothing but blahs. Her friends startles. Discovery reveals she and her friends are all cheating inside the same circles. We go to court, show proof the partner is not the father, and ask that his name be taken off the birth certificate. Not wanting the child to be a ward of the state, the judge orders her to identify everybody she slept with within the reasonable period of conception. She provides the inventory list. 10 males showing a variety of characters show up for the next court session. Among the group are a doctor, an architect, a tennis instructor, 2 chefs, a trust fund prince, and a few more round-out players. One was the father of the person they truly needed. She omitted John Doe Jr. When she identified John Doe, everybody was directed to get their DNA tested. Our customer has his name taken off effectively. From the birth certificate, no alimony or child support. Over many years, wife agrees with the baby dad on child support and support payments. She triumphs last. The doctor was here. Her leaving the area is part of the plan. The doctor will cover her expenses. NDAs were signed. The doctor was really rich and had to protect his reputation and identity. The court let the absence of a father on the birth certificate as the child was promised help. A fund dedicated to trusts. The husband closed on their house while the wife was at work, but he brought his mother who signed the paperwork. Years later, they split up, and the wife claims the house. Unfortunately, she gets an eviction notice from the mama. The wife knew they paid rent. Not that they questioned me about managing a post-divorce enforcement process. The person was owing about $5,000, which had not been paid in a few years and had already been discounted to judgment. He got in touch with her as he wanted the judgment implemented against some money he found while she was shopping away. She was uninsured, hence the money was raised at a firehouse benefit dinner for cancer treatments. I turned it down. One of my amazing clients hated the guts of her husband. He was told to pay Rs. $3,000 a month for interim upkeep. This man visits a bank and takes $3,000 out. Then hands his wife in court 1 rupee coin for dollars. In technical terms, it is lawful. Now he wants the bag back, and the wife had to count all the funds while seated in court. In technical terms, it is his bag. This lady therefore has 3,000 coins, and no means of getting them home. This individual was a nasty genius. Not a lawyer, I used to be a paralegal. When I searched it up, I remembered reading about a case whose name I cannot remember. The husband owned over 90% of the party's assets, which came to almost $15 million before the marriage. While the husband sought to leave her penniless, the courts meant to award the woman about $2 million and hand the remaining to her husband. He finally spent all of his money battling on every level. In this scenario, basically acting like a jerk and filing pointless motions. Following payment of legal costs, penalties, charges, and fees, as well as money spent on schemes, the party's remaining assets came out to be around $500,000. The courts gave it to the wife, who was left totally broke. Guy brings home large lottery riches. Millions of people, tells his wife never. Technically, she owns half as well. All he needs to do is complete the tax paperwork, which his wife invariably signs without seeing the tax has already been paid. Divorce is something else. The husband doesn't show much disturbance. Her attorney advises her to take the offered substantial divorce settlement. He moves to a nearby town and leads a normal life until finally he loses all he knows. Then he moves on, disconnected from everyone. He begins then to squander the money. Though this is only a story, here is where we start. He had always resided on family land. His father has his mother resides with him, but his already dead gone. His mother advises one day that he get married when he becomes older. He comes on to someone on the internet. She already has a teenage daughter, whatever. Things evolve and they all coexist on the farm. He handles the accounts in the farms, assigning duty. The wife starts to spend heavily after she finds out how much money this man really has. She sends her daughter to expensive schools, starts buying luxury goods, and so on, but she doesn't pay the farm's bills. The ground still carried debt. He learns when the bank calls him saying he is past due and nothing has been paid. Ultimately, he loses his farm. His wife and he got into a furious argument. Though it was theirs to start with, she pushes him and his mother out of the house and they divorce. He thus heads toward the city. It bothers him. After all, he lived his whole life, rural farming. He thus calls his pal to inquire whether he may visit and stay with him back in town. He gets to his friend's house. The buddy absent is there. Rather, he finds his ex-wife and her daughter. He jerked. From his truck, he got a handgun and shot, killing both of them. My husband, an attorney, has a few stories to share. When his wife discovered her 5-year-old daughter had been molested, she left him and filed for custody. The nasty sob also accused his wife of mistreating the daughter to stop her from getting custody as well. The gal. When he visited his wife's parents, the husband realized her parents had also targeted her. Again, all of this was done to keep the wife from getting custody. The woman and her parents were cleared, but the girl spent a year in foster care while the investigations were still underway. After serving his time, the father is now allowed supervised visitation. Then there was a woman who loved hunting beyond all else and married a man who made his life selling firearms. Knowing he would no longer be allowed to buy or carry weapons, she charged him with domestic violence. Then a woman in the middle of a divorce persuaded her soon-to-be ex to get back in touch, seduced him, and gave him alcohol before tossing him out the home. She called the police to document seeing someone swerving on the road. The DUI resulted in his arrest, incarceration, and job loss. He worked driving. At last, a man informed his wife he would hand up custody of his twin children, provided she swore not to pursue spousal maintenance or split any assets. She agreed, and the divorce was official. Claiming that he could better care for the twins since he had a larger house and she merely had an apartment, he insisted on complete custody of the twins on the day the papers were signed, citing also his greater money. He told his lawyer he simply intended to leave her with the naked minimum. He pursued one of them and permanently split the twins after the judge denied him custody based on their prior arrangement. Though there are numerous stories, the ones that most often make me sick typically follow this pattern. Wife carried a child. Husband displays minimal interest in the child, and even objects to the attention the child attracts away from him. Tells wife she is entirely responsible even financially for this child. Wife finds her spouse a jerk as she knows he is a bad father. She would much prefer be a single mother than deal with his man-baby antics. A divorce petition is turned in. According to his attorney, the husband would have less child support to pay the more time he spends with his kid. Within the partner starts visiting doctors, interacts with the child, and overall behaves like a father. The parties are divorced nowadays. Wife is a wonderful mom with a 50/50 timeshare. All the mother wanted was for her husband to take an interest in the child. She had to divorce him to get that. While a law clerk, I had this case. The wife and 2 kids moved with the husband, as he had a great profession and was stationed abroad. While his wife was a stay-at-home mom without income of her own, he had a very good salary with all expenses covered. The marriage fell apart, and the woman moved back to Sweden where she asked for alimony, which she was legally entitled to, so she could see the children every other week. She hadn't been. Labored over years and struggled to go back into the job. Without savings, etc. The partner, who had not paid any bills in years, said he was also broke out of nowhere. Barely having roughly $1 million, he was forced to spend it on an apartment in one of the most costly parts of town just to have somewhere to live. Make sure you press the bell when you subscribe to activate notifications. Play the playlist in the background to finish listening to all the links at top of the description stories. Try Am I the Jerk if you enjoy Am I the Genius. The description also has a link. Still, we appreciate you watching. Next time, we'll see you.